You probably already know the things that you need to do to get ahead in your career.
Hard work, your network, having that dog in you. But what if I told you there's actually 5 things flying under the radar that are holding you back in your career?
And you're probably doing them every single day.
That's right, but don't worry, Permalast Email's here. We're going to tell you those 5 and what you need to do about them. Let's get into it.
We'll get into the episode in a minute. But first, Kyle, are you wearing cologne?
Yeah, I just bought it today. What do you think?
It's fine, except for the fact that it's making me sneeze.
Whoa, why? It's not like there are dust mites in it.
Well, for some people, non-allergic triggers like perfume or smoke can make their existing allergy symptoms even worse. It can take allergies that wouldn't normally have any symptoms and push them over the threshold, making someone cough, sneeze, or itch.
Kayla, you could just admit you're a hater and say you don't like my cologne. You don't have to make it all scientific.
Okay, well, if this sounds like you, it may be time to get tested for allergies with a regional respiratory profile. It will help ensure no allergen slips through the cracks with a research-backed collection of local pollen allergens and the most common indoor allergens, all from one blood draw.
So ask your primary care provider about getting tested with your local respiratory allergy profile today. And thanks to our friends over at Allergy Insider for this PSA.
So, Kyle, what's holding you back?
Coming out of the gate strong, I think I just got that puppy in me.
Right, you need the dog, but you got a puppy.
I need the full dog in me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's holding you back?
I think my desire to inject whimsy into my daily life.
Too much whimsy.
I think that's what's holding me back.
Exactly. You got that whimsy set.
Yeah, you're so right. No, okay, so we're talking about the things that are surprising and regular and also hold you back.
Yes, these are the sneaky things that you don't really think about.
Yeah.
But the data, the research, the stats show that they actually do have a measurable material impact on your career. And we just thought this would be a really fun and also tactical episode to explore some of these things, but also to arm you with the information you need to improve them so you can get ahead in your career.
Yes, and importantly, we've identified 5 things that are holding you back that you can control.
Yes, very important part here.
So there's a lot that's holding you back that you probably can't control. We're talking biases. We're talking tricky situations.
Gender, ethnicity,
We're not talking
your
about
height.
Those. Yes.
My clown shoes, my platform shoes. I bought stilts, Kayla.
Unfortunately, that we can't help you with.
Yes.
So that sucks. But no, we're talking about stuff that you can't control and also matters in potentially holding you back in your career.
Exactly.
So we have 5 of them. Let's start off with the first one. Kyle, why could your commute hold you back?
So the commute, this one is a really fun one. I think during COVID, there was this general new way of working and hypothesis, which is proximity will not matter anymore. Mm-hmm. I can move to Bangladesh and work remotely and everything's going to be fine in my career. Obviously, some people did that, but where it manifested, I think, for most people was they're moving out of the city centers. Maybe they went and bought a house in a different state and they're going to work, or they're just going to commute in every so often, 2 days in the office, 3 days in the office. We went away from 5 days in the office, which I think most people agree pretty solid. However, I think the pendulum is starting to shift back where longer commutes, if you're commuting for a long time, it's affecting your career. Yeah. And there's some really interesting data around this. One, commutes just make you miserable. I mean, breaking news here. Right. Everyone hates being in traffic. Everyone hates driving. Everyone hates commuting for a long time. A 2004 science study by Daniel Kahneman, one of the scientific goats, found that of all of the routine daily tasks, commuting had the lowest positive effect. Mm-hmm. So it just didn't make you happy at all.
Yeah.
The lowest one of everything you routinely do every single day.
Yeah.
Even work itself, much higher than commuting. Mm-hmm. So it's something that just is miserable. And that misery then compounds. You are showing up to work, you feel terrible. Mm-hmm. There's been some interesting studies on how it decreases innovation. HBS did this study where if you were, the further away you were from the office for commuting, you're actually less likely to develop and register and get approved patents. Again, one study,
interesting.
But as a bit of a proxy for you're showing up, you're more stressed.
Maybe you have less time.
You have less time. Yeah. You're less engaged, again, on average. And so your work suffers. And then also, in order to reach the same life satisfaction of someone who lives right next to the office, a 1 hour commute would need to earn 40% more.
Wow.
So there is these like tangible life impacts.
Yep.
Like if you can minimize commuting, you probably should for your own well-being. Obviously, there's other factors, family, we'll talk about all of that. So commuting sucks, but also it's impacting your career for all of the reasons and some more I listed. What is your take on the long commutes?
Yeah, I mean, I'll speak from personal experience. This morning there was a fire on the 2 train, and so it took me. It usually takes me 20 minutes to get into the office. It took me 50, and I showed up pissed.
Yeah, I mean, this is gonna be a terrible podcast.
I stomped around as I got in.
Any patents today, Kayla?
No patents today, but it's true. Like if that was my experience every day, the reality is I would probably be coming in less often, which, as we've discussed in previous episodes, can impact your visibility. It can impact your ability to get promoted. Especially if you are in the area that you're like, if you're not, fully remote.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like having a longer commute or a more challenging commute 100% could impact both the actual performance, but also the perception of you,
It's interesting. Commutes account for 15% approximately of voluntary turnover. So there's a significant amount of people who are actually leaving their jobs because
it's too far.
I just can't do this commute anymore.
Interesting.
And it's one of those sneaky things. I'm literally talking from my own experience, thinking about in a couple of years, my daughter is now 3, 4, like, do we want to move out of the city? I think in your head, you're like, oh yeah, it'll be the train. I'll just take the Metro North every day.
Yeah.
It'll be so great. I'll get so much work done. But then you actually look at the stats and it's like, that's not going to happen, brother.
Right.
Like,
And it's just, you're introducing a lot of like uncertainty into your morning and your evening, where it's like anything could go wrong at any point in your commute that makes life more challenging, that makes you delayed, that makes you late. Like I totally see it.
And I think this shows up in a variety of ways. Like one, you tend to get to the office later. And again, like in the era of remote work, hybrid work, I think we all were like, it doesn't matter if you're in the office or not. Doesn't matter when you're in. Like everyone should be judged on their performance. I agree with that statement, but that's not how it works. And so there is this still like, oh, you came in at like 10:30? Like what's going on?
Yeah.
Or you have to leave, like you're like midday and you have to leave because your commute is so long. I think there still is that perception that's affecting you. The other thing is, as we know, like some of the non-work stuff becomes important in growing in your career. Going to the happy hours, going to the dinners. There's always a thing that pops up that's a little late. You're not expected to go, but we know the people that go, like they looked at in a different light. You have a long commute. It's like, I'm not taking the train at 9 p.m., getting home at 11 p.m. So it limits some of those extracurricular opportunities.
Having a complicated commute reduces the flexibility that you can have in your day-to-day.
Well said.
So
what do we have for you? What are the tactics, Kayla, that people should be thinking about when it comes to their commute and making sure it's not getting in the way of their career?
Yeah, so I think a piece of advice that my dad has given me in the past I actually find really useful.
We're already getting to dad advice on the pod.
Which I think is, well, it took us 2 years to get here, so this is actually pretty impressive.
Okay.
Is to optimize for your day-to-day and not for like the idealistic version of yourself. I think there are obviously a lot of factors when you're deciding where to live and where to work that are beyond just thinking about commute. Obviously, it's probably more expensive inside of a city versus in the suburbs, which makes the commute longer.
Right. You have kids, like 3 kids in a New York apartment is tough.
So, but if you were choosing 2 equal locations to live, 2 equal houses, 2 equal apartments, and one is like, has like a big dining room for like, I don't know,
throwing a
entertaining.
Big party. Yeah.
And it's 20 minutes further away from your job. Like think about how often you'll be entertaining and how often you'll be commuting to work.
Yeah.
And then optimize for the everyday. And so I think, again, all else equal, considering the commute in your life choices might actually be beneficial.
I love, your dad has some wise advice, Kayla. You have to give him my kudos.
Yeah.
I love that, like, normalizing for your actual lived life day to day. I think oftentimes we do have this grand idea of what we're like, I'm looking at places, I'm like, oh, the kitchen's so nice. I'm like, I don't cook. Like, I'm bad at, like, I'm like rarely in the kitchen. I'm making mac and cheese. Like, it doesn't matter what the kitchen looks like. But I think we get that grand idea. It's nice to actually root it in like your actual
This is who I could be.
Yeah,
if I had a good kitchen, maybe I would cook more. It's like
don't
no.
go shopping when you're hungry type vibe. It's like settle down.
Yeah.
Know who you are normally. I think my advice is if you do have a commute, I think this is really important, is to create a consistent schedule and be very clear about what that is. I don't necessarily think it's always the commute. It's a little bit about the chaos around the commute. And so if you can work it out with family, childcare, I know there's a lot of caveats, like telling your team, I'm going to always be in Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Let's take that as an example. I'm going to get in at 9:30. I'm going to have to leave at 5. Like, those are my hours. And you stick to that as much as you can.
Yeah.
You work in some flexibility where maybe you work with your family like one night a week. You can stay out a little later. I just think that's really important because I think what the penalty is really just the chaos. You're like, are they coming in today or not? When do they come in? Like, you don't know. And so that breeds this era of like, this perception of untrustworthy, whereas being very clear about it, I think you can negate most of the commute penalty.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like we spent a hell of a long time on commutes. So let's talk about number 2.
4 left, and we have 3 seconds to go.
Okay, number 2. This is a personal favorite of mine, which is admitting your AI use.
That's right. So what you are hearing this from me, AI pilled, on per my last email. There is, in many studies, a career penalty for telling people you use AI, which is really bad news for me because I have publicly declared that on a podcast.
Right.
So my career is screwed. I'm fucked. So the study, landmark study from Duke University, found that people who use AI, tell people, are rated as lazier, less competent, and less diligent. This is across age, job function, level of seniority, just like in general, you admit you use AI, the average person is like, you're lazy.
Yeah.
Career penalty.
Yeah. Listen, I do it.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn.
I'm like, damn, that's slop right there.
So I think this does get back to like, there's so many factors here. One, I think it is the work slop thing. I think
that's the only thing.
Really?
Yeah. No, 100%. Because if you tell me that you're using AI, I'm kind of like, ugh. But if you show me work and I'm like, this is clearly AI, then my perception of you is that you're maybe lazy is a strong word, but you don't care about the thing that we're working on enough to like give me the courtesy of hiding the fact that you put this prompt into ChatGPT.
Yeah.
You know, like make it like do something where I'm not like you just put a prompt in, copy and pasted it, and now I'm looking at it.
I think this is really important because even if you are skilled with AI, like Kaila and I,
don't put me in that. I don't know shit.
It's the idea that like that is people's perception.
Right.
It's like work slop, just copy and paste ChatGPT, not a thoughtful prompt, no human in the loop, like just let it rip. And you need to know that like other people might be doing that. And so that's the perception people have of AI use. So if you're loud and proud about it, like people might think that's how you're using it. So I think it's really important from like, it's like strategic disclosure. Like the one interesting thing about this study was the penalty for like rating you lazy and less diligent, that went away if the evaluator was also using AI. So it's also about has your company announced like we want to use AI? Are a lot of people at your company using AI? If that's the case, it's probably fine to talk about. In fact, it probably gets encouraged to talk about from senior leadership. But if your company like isn't using it or is a little more skeptical, strategic disclosure, like knowing how to frame your AI use, how to talk about it, I think is really, really important.
Yeah. And I think, it's very dependent on the culture, but I also think it's like how you're communicating that to somebody.
Yes.
Not necessarily strategic disclosure, but like, am I finding out that you use AI because I'm getting work slop from you? And if I am, then I'm like, that is when my perception changes. Yeah,
it's a good point. Like if you're finding out someone uses AI, not by them telling you, but by just the fact that their work is shit, you're like, bro, like this sucks.
It just to me shows that it's whatever it is that we're working on is not a priority to you.
Yeah.
So this actually happened to me yesterday. And so let's talk about it.
The tea.
I just transferred over to Claude this week.
Yeah.
I have not really been using AI. When I stopped using ChatGPT and moved over to Claude, and I looked, and I had like maybe 17 prompts in the last like year.
I feel like you were like, oh, but like all my chat history, and then,
and then I was
looked it up
like,
and you're like, nah, never mind.
never mind.
Yep, just do a clean restart.
Yeah, I was like, I've asked it 4 things. And so I decided I'm going to try and give Claude a fair shake. So I had all these notes, these disparate documents, these like meeting notes, these whatever, like my like ramblings into Google Docs. I put them all into Claude, and I was like, can you put this into like one succinct document?
Okay.
And it was good. It was good. I was
Claude
like,
got her.
damn. But again, I was like, this is exactly what I would want to use AI for, which is not like ideation, but for like aggregation, like just making sure that I'm not forgetting a side comment that I made 3 meetings ago.
Totally.
That is important, but not in the front of my brain.
Yeah.
So anyways, then I turn that into a document that's like a events like statement, basically. Everything we have to do, timelines. And I was going to send it to my colleague that I'm like working on this with.
Okay.
And I like totally freaked out about it. I was like, I am so embarrassed about the fact that it's clearly like the like indentations are clearly AI.
tell.
So I went through and I changed it all.
You were following your advice, which is typos are a sign of humanity.
No, I didn't even
You're
add
misspelling things.
No, I didn't even add typos, but I was like, okay, let's take this from a heading 2 to a heading 3. Like, I just want it to look like slightly less.
They'll never catch me now.
They'll never catch me. And like, of course, I modified it to be a little bit more specific and everything. But then I was like, I sent it and I was like, don't be mad. Like, don't be mad at me.
Okay, question. Did you tell them I'm sending you something that AI helped with or no?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. So it's interesting to me because I don't think you should have to disclose that because like you don't have to disclose like I Google searched and found this information. Like it's going to become eventually natural to do a little bit of AI on probably everything. However, what I've seen that I've actually really appreciated is I've gotten sent something where someone said, here's all the steps I did to produce this, and like highlighted how they used AI, how they were human in the loop. And I actually came away thinking this person is way smarter. Like, wow, this is, I had a rosy picture of them because I was like, okay, you're using AI, but you're still very involved. You're thoughtful about the steps and you're like showing me the work behind the work. I was like, well, this is brilliant. So maybe that is a way to start combating also this narrative of like work slab is like, hey, I'm using AI, but here's how I'm doing it very thoughtfully. And then people will be impressed by the output and be like, okay, like AI is actually pretty good.
Yeah. If you're talking about the situation that I think you're talking about, I was kind of like, ugh.
I don't think I am.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because I don't know what you're thinking about.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think in a similar situation that I was in, I kind of rolled my eyes at it.
Okay.
So perhaps it's just, again, this is the thing though, is
So
you're
don't take my
positive.
advice.
You're positive about AI, which is exactly what the study was saying.
That's right.
And me, I'm neutral to slightly negative about it. And so I reacted in a neutral to slightly negative way when I was informed that somebody had worked with AI on something.
That's right. Okay. That is literally documenting what this is all about. Okay. Strategic disclosure.
Yeah, that's
name of
the
game.
tactic. And we'll be right back after this. Okay, back to the show. All right, number 3, being unknown at work.
Yes. There's a penalty here.
Yeah.
I think this just gets to the heart. Everyone knows it. Like, we want to live in a perfect world where all your work is evaluated equally and all that good stuff. But also, like, there is just, do I know this person? Like, am I aware that of their existence? And that really matters. There's this thing called p.i.e, which is performance, image, and exposure, like a p.i.e model of who gets promoted. So, of course, performance is still a factor, but it's also your image, your reputation at the country, and then just general exposure to the right stakeholders.
Sure.
I think, you could break down like what percentage is in each of those buckets, but I think that's just a smart thing to remember. p.i.e, performance, image, exposure, that's what's going to get you promoted. And a lot of people only think about performance. And at some point, thinking more about performance is marginally not that important, whereas thinking about your reputation and your exposure to the right stakeholders of the company becomes much more important. As much as it sucks to hear that, it's true. And so I think people should work on being more known in general at work, obviously known for the right things.
Yeah, I agree with that. And we've had a few episodes now talking about perception and politics and all of that. So take a listen if you're interested in learning a little bit more about that. But I think the TLDR here is if people don't know you, they can't advocate for you, they can't ask things of you, they can't include you. And so just having some sort of presence in outside of your small team is going to be inherently beneficial.
Yeah, and this is really interesting. So Nick Bloom, who's this Stanford researcher, he's like the goat of hybrid work and remote work. He's been studying it since like it wasn't even popular.
Yeah.
And then COVID came along and he was like cited everywhere. I'm like starting to think Nick might have started COVID. Definitely helped his career. Someone research, look into that. No, he's a fantastic researcher. He's found that remote workers, on average, they're 13% more productive than an in-person worker. So they're more productive. If that was true, and promotions were solely based on productivity and performance, remote workers would be getting promoted more. In fact, most studies show they're promoted 30% less than in-person office. So like this is just true. And I also I think there is totally an argument here of like that isn't good. And we should remove those biases and all that. But I think there's something that actually is a little more truthful and like positive about this, which is just, I think people think that work will automatically flow to them. Like, oh, this is my title, and so people are going to give me projects to do, and then I'll do them wonderfully, and I'll get promoted. That isn't really how work flows. Like actually happens in the office. A lot of times it's like, okay, I have a question. I don't know who to go to. So you start thinking, who do I go to? Well, it's the person who you see in Slack talking about that topic. Or you had a meeting with once and you're like, oh, I know to go to this person. I know to go to that person. And there might be like 3 or 4 people you could get that information from, but you go to those people and then you develop more of a relationship with them. You start working on them with projects. Work starts flowing to the people who are known, and then they just get more shots on goal to produce high quality work. So I think if your model of getting promoted is hoping people give you things to do, it's not gonna be bad. You want to create a magnet for yourself. You want to be known for what you do, highlighting what you do, promoting what you do, so more work can flow and you get more shots on goal to do great stuff.
Yeah, 100%. But I also don't think it's necessarily being known like in person. I think there's ways to become more known at remote work as well.
Totally.
For example,
it's
like,
a lot harder though.
It is a lot harder. You have to be a little bit more like focused. It's not more of like a natural, causation of being in the office and drinking water at the same time as someone else. But it is like if Slack is the second office, like how do you make yourself more known? That way.
I think this is really good advice. Like if you don't have your like Slack strategy of like kind of self-promotion in a way that doesn't come off terribly.
Gross,
Like you should develop that. It's really important. It's uncomfortable, but it's a really great skill to learn. And I think it's worth investing in.
So tactics on this one. I think if you are worried that you are not known in your office, whether you're remote or not, do one cross-functional thing this week. So, for example, I have a friend at an old job who was working in a very siloed team, and I actually don't know if this is legal, so I'll like change. So, anyways, there's what he did was he called it cross-wall lunches, and it was back when there was it's called the Chinese wall, which I actually don't know if that's like
probably can't say that.
Probably bad. Basically means like iron separation between work functions for legal regulatory reasons. And so he did cross-wall lunches. Something that he really liked was like...
I think you're sending your friend to jail right
now.
No,
it's bad. It's a long time ago. All he would do would be like, hey, do you guys, I like love these sandwich shops. I'm going to place an order. Do you guys want some? Wouldn't even like eat together. It would just be like, I'm ordering lunch. Do you guys want something? And his goal was actually to get a sandwich named after him at this restaurant. But anyways, it was a small way for him to kind of bring people into what he was doing. And it wasn't this big thing. It was like once a week he would do a cross-wall lunch. And like people started to know who he was. Not because of his work, because again, it was siloed.
They're like, yo, it's Sandwich Guy. Oh, I love Sandwich Guy.
Exactly. So he started getting a reputation. Again, it wasn't something huge, but it was a little thing he did once a week that like started to bring people in. So if there's something that you could do like that, whether it's like, let's get a coffee or like, oh, let's, anyone else want to go to this yoga class? I don't know, whatever. Just make yourself a little bit more known in a way that feels comfortable to you.
I love it. The tactic is become Sandwich Guy. We all can endeavor to do that. I have just one more note on this is I also think the reason it's important to be kind of broadly known at work is when your manager goes to advocate for your promotion, they're going to do that to the senior leadership team or the executive leadership team. And like a lot of people might just be like, well, I don't know. Like, I've never seen this person. Like, they're going to greet that with skepticism. It's not impossible to get over if you have a great manager who really advocates, they trust. You could get it across the line, but it's a lot easier conversation if they're like, oh, yeah, I see them all the time. It's clear they're doing work. Again, it's not necessarily the most just way to do this, but it is accurate. That's how decisions are made. And so I think that's just an important note. Should we move on to number 4?
Sure.
This one might be my favorite, Kayla.
Okay, let's hear it.
We're talking poor audio and video quality.
It's true.
Shout out to all my people on camera. You can't hear them. Shout out to all my people on camera. You're like, you can't even see. You're a little blurry.
Yep.
You're on your 5G and you're like, oh man, I got Verizon. It's not working right here. Something is up. There's actually a penalty for this. People rate you as less intelligent, likable, and like that the quality of your work is poorer when you have audio and video issues.
Yeah.
And we've all been there.
Yeah. On both sides.
Myself included. Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, I've been there. It happens, and then it happens to someone who I'm sitting across, and I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. So I want to talk about 3C.
Okay.
This is our conference room on one of our floors, and it has famously bad Wi-Fi.
I know.
Everybody knows that 3C has bad Wi-Fi. And so when you're on a video call, even if it's like a mix, like there's 3 or 4 people on the call and you're in the conference room or vice versa, you're working from home and some people are in the conference room, there's a chance that it's going to glitch. Everybody knows that it is 3C. And yet I find myself getting annoyed at the people that are clearly not at fault. It is clearly the conference room that I am in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ugh, like this is so annoying, but I direct it not at the tech. I direct it at the person that I'm talking to.
Yeah.
Which is not fair.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
And I'm like annoyed. And the same thing when I'm working from home and 3C has the issues, I get annoyed at the people in the room. I'm like, come on, you guys know that 3C is annoying. It's so weird. It's very much like if you're a pedestrian, you're annoyed at the bicyclists, and if you're a bicyclist, you're annoyed at the pedestrians. But like, you play both roles, you know?
I think I totally agree. Like, a lot of it is just like, okay, everyone calm down. There is an element to me, though, that's like, okay, if you want to do the remote hybrid thing, like, I need to be able to communicate with you.
100%.
And like, if your Wi-Fi is out all the time, or like your video, like I can't see, like, then I can't. Like, it feels like that's kind of what you need to hold up for your end of the bargain. If you want the privilege of flexibility, I need to be able to effectively communicate with you. And there is like science behind, it's called the fluency effect, process fluency. All of the background you have to dedicate to like trying to listen to someone who's like a little grainy or like trying to see them, it eats up cognitive time. And so like you're less likely to like actually be able to engage with what they're saying, to remember what they're saying. So you're putting the onus on the audience if you have poor audio quality. I mean, it's interesting, like NPR did a study where they literally played the exact same audio. One was high quality, one was low quality, and it was over 10% decrease on the low quality audio of those factors that I was talking about. Less intelligence, less likable, less perception that their work is high quality. If we put out this podcast and we said the same thing, but it was like shit audio, you turn it off.
Yeah.
Like I've literally done that with podcasts where I like hit play and I'm like, did they record this in like 1999? Like next. And so that stuff matters. The tactics are get yourself a nice tech setup.
Yeah.
What should the people buy, Kayla?
I don't know. Jeez Louise. I have no idea. I think it's, testing, especially if you're in a net new place, testing the Wi-Fi ahead of time can really be beneficial.
Yeah.
Like making sure that the audio quality is good, but also it's like, if this is a consistent problem for you, like, I don't know, get Fios or something. Like,
get that fiber.
Yeah.
I mean, also like camera quality.
Yeah.
Alex Lieberman, co-founder of Morning Brew, had like the most insane camera setup, and he was so crisp.
Yeah.
And like I get on a meeting with him, and I'm like, oh yes, that's a great idea. Like it looks so good.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you really know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and like it is just a perception thing, but I do think there is this like, oh, you're taking your setup serious that I respect, because it's like, oh, you want me to be able to like engage with you. You're thoughtful about that stuff. You're probably thoughtful about your work too. So I definitely think there's something there. Are you a camera on or camera off person, Kayla?
I've always been a camera on person.
Yeah.
Because I know myself. And when I'm camera off, my tendency to like zone out is high.
It's there.
My camera's on and my tendency to zone out is high. So like I kind of am a like important meeting, I need to be in person, but that's just because that's who I am. But I think we're a camera on, I think it's cultural. We're a camera on company.
Yeah, I do. I definitely think that's a good point. It's cultural. Like, I think the actual studies show, like, when your camera off, you can focus more. You might be more, like, if you don't have, like, you know, like impulse control and, like, there's rings and pings, like, you definitely feel like you can go check those out. But let's put that to the side. You focus more because when you're on camera, you tend to look at yourself.
Sure.
And, like, you're just, like, looking at the people. When your camera off and you just can focus on what's being said, you can actually engage a little more. But I definitely think there's a cultural thing where it's like a sign of respect to have your camera on. And I think that's true. So I'm also team camera on.
All right, let's go to the last one.
The last one, manager burnout.
This one is one that's a little harder for you to control.
Yes, you can't necessarily control if your manager is burned out. Maybe you buy him a vacation or something. You know?
Don't do that.
Don't do that. I'm kidding. Buy yourself a vacation. Manager burnout. Kayla, why do you think this is a career penalty?
Well, I mean, I think it's a similar issue as being unknown at work, which is that if somebody doesn't know you, they can't advocate for you. If your boss is like fatigued or uninspired, they're not going to be advocating for you in the way that they can at best. And so it is career limiting you're under somebody who is limited by their own burnout. You're inherently limited by that as well for those two reasons, right? Like they're not going to advocate for you, but also they're probably not going to be rising the ranks or being as like aggressively trying to, you know, continue to grow in their own career, which unless you go somewhere else or get a new manager kind of does put a ceiling on where you can go. Yeah.
I think that last part is so well said and so important. Like, your career, like a lot of when you're thinking about growing in your career, you're thinking about things you can do. I mean, we talked about them for these 4 tactics. Obviously, there's all of our other content talking mainly about like what you can do. But a big driver of career success is some of these things that are like what company you work for. But what I think is the most important is who you work for, your manager. And it's spot on. If your manager is like a rock star, they're growing in their career, they're getting more responsibilities, there is this trickle-down effect that's going to happen. They have more stuff to do, they're going to have to give you stuff. Their team is growing, maybe they hire someone, and now you're managing them. That's how it works. And I think people just, when they're thinking about their career, don't realize that that is such a major dependency. And so where you can pick your manager or try to leave and find a new manager, I do think that's really important. Like, Robert went from COO to CEO, and like it's like not really a promotion for me, but like kind of is. And like I did nothing. That's because he's amazing. Like you're kind of just riding the coattails if you can find the right manager. So yeah, if your manager's burned out, your manager's not effective, that is holding your career back. And I just think people don't think of that in terms of their own career impact as much as they should.
Yeah, I agree there, and I think a tactic is assess the true impact of your manager's burnout, assess the like severity of that burnout, of their like career aspirations. And that could be either like you're doing that on your own or you're having a frank conversation with them. I want to continue to grow my career. I'd like to take on some of the things that you're doing, but like I can't do that if you're not doing other stuff.
Yeah.
And then I think at some point it's going to be career limiting. And so you should look at what it would look like to be under a different boss.
And yeah, that could be internally at the same company. That could be switching to a different company, switching roles. There's a lot of options there, which those are a little more in your control. But I think that the manager one is a sneaky one. Okay, Kayla, we covered the 5 surprising things that are holding you back in your career. Final words of wisdom.
I think, yeah, just keep all these things in mind.
Brilliant.
and do all the things we said and you'll be fine.
Just listen to us. That's all you need to do. Yeah, I think the through line for this all is a lot of this is, again, not about performance. It's about perception. I think we over-index on performance. And like most of that over-indexing is great because that is what should ultimately matter, and it still does matter. But I think we under-index on some of these more hidden things that at the marginal level do materially impact your career. So let us know what you thought. Is there a sneaky one we missed? Do you live far away and want to defend commuting? Are you AI pilled and you're sick of having to hide your AI usage? We want to know. Per my last email at morningbrew.com. Send us your thoughts, ideas for new episodes. Just saying, hey, we love every email. We respond to everyone. And while you're there, give us 5 stars on Spotify. It helps grow the show. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Should we roll the credits?
Let's do it.
Our producer is Michaela Heck.
Our technical director is Uchenna Oku.
Kelsey Jones is our audio engineer.
And our president is Devin Emery.
This show is a production of Morning Brew.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Enjoy your commute.